Algebra.
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 So, algebra is a branch of mathematics.
It's the mathematics that kind of describes where you use letters for variables, and you have equations. It's the most fundamental of the mathematics. You usually take it in middle school. In, America, we usually take algebra in middle school, and then geometry and so on.
7th grade, I think, is the first time. So middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
First year of middle school?
Second year of middle school.
Second year middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at
year
Mr.
7.
School here is 5 years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's variable.
It is
Usually
different.
either 5 or 6 years, and it really does depend on the area.
Mm-hmm.
But the school that I went to had 5 years of elementary school, 3 years of middle school, and then 4 years of high school.
Same.
Me as well, except for my high school was a junior high school and a senior high school. So I had the first 5 years in elementary, the next 3 years in middle, the next 2 years in junior high, and then the next 2 years in senior high, because there was way too many people.
But there were still 4 years of high school.
Yeah,
Right.
but still 4 years of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we learned algebra, or began learning algebra in middle school, which is year 7.
Year 7, or maybe a little bit in year 6 too.
Yeah, maybe they introduced the concept of variables
Right.
a little bit in year 6.
But I think maybe 7th or 8th grade is the first time I took a class that was called algebra. And that's
Yeah.
the whole focus.
I think it was
of the class.
pre-algebra.
So you'll be like 12, 13 here when you start learning about algebra.
So you were the same thing, 7.
Yes. The way our school did it was algebra was the first high school class, the first high school mathematics class that you had to take for graduation. But you had the option to take it in middle school if you split it up between 7th and 8th grade. So you basically took a high school class and separated it into 2 years for a middle schooler. And that way, if you finished algebra in middle school, you got to take extra math classes in high school that were, higher level than geometry and pre-cal.
Mine was a little different. For the students who were advanced enough and had a good enough grasp of mathematics, you had the option of taking pre-algebra in 7th grade and then algebra 1 in 8th grade. And for students who weren't quite as advanced, they could wait another year and take another year of supplementary math and then start pre-algebra in 8th grade and take algebra 1 in high school.
Interesting. And when they teach you, or do they teach you the history of algebra?
Not much. No, not really. Mostly just practical, use and
Like
the
mathematics?
rules. Yeah, just
how to... Okay.
I didn't even get the history of math or science until I got into college.
Yeah. Same.
What I want to do in this video is think about the origins of algebra. The origins of algebra. And the word, especially in association with the ideas that algebra now represents, comes from this book, or actually this is a page of the book right over there. The English translation for the title of this book is The Compendious Book on Calculation by Completion and Balancing, and it was written by a Persian mathematician who lived in Baghdad in I believe it was in the 8th or 9th century. I believe it was actually 820 AD when he wrote this book, AD. And algebra is the Arabic word that here's the title that he gave to it, which is the Arabic title. Algebra means restoration or completion. Restoration or completion. And he associated it in his book with a very specific operation, really taking something from one side of an equation to another side of an equation.
What is pre-algebra? That would be all of the math that you learned before algebra.
Well,
how to
you didn't
divide.
take pre-algebra. We did pre-algebra, or I did pre-algebra.
I did also,
You
yeah.
also? And basically they just start teaching you some of the basics that you'll need to know about algebra. Some of the the concept of variables and how to move variables around in equations and isolate variables. And it's just a little bit extra. It's starting to learn algebra, but it's giving you an extra year to get used to some of the most important basics about algebra. think. Is that right?
I think so. I don't really remember.
And we did
So,
a lot.
no, I mean,
Sounds like
Yeah,
we did-
my algebra
it's
class.
pretty much like algebra.
We-
Just
yeah.
just getting you ready.
It was like
It wasn't that much different.
the basics of
Yeah.
algebra. You go over Cartesian coordinate systems.
So that's the 7th grade.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And after that, every year you need to.
Yeah, you build on algebra. So if you don't
Yeah.
have your foundation and can do algebraic equations, you're not going to be able to go into calculus.
But it depends on what you want to do. Like, I don't think you have to take anything more than algebra to graduate from high school.
yeah, you have to
think-
take geometry.
Oh, yeah,
you
okay.
do pre-cal.
Geometry.
We didn't have to. You
No,
didn't
you
have to
don't
take pre-cal.
Not in my school, you didn't have to take pre-cal. I did, but you didn't have to.
What was the
Same.
last one?
Geometry.
I guess.
I think you
I
may
don't
have to
remember.
take a third math, but it's.
Yeah,
So
maybe
we had
you could take
algebra 1,
statistics or something
geometry,
like that.
So-
algebra 2, and then
But some-
pre-cal.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I think algebra 2.
Oh, maybe algebra 2.
Yeah, it was
That
the final
sounds
one.
right. But some people took algebra 1 in high school. If they weren't
Right.
ready for it in middle school, and
Right.
that's your third math. Algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, done.
Right.
We required 4 years, which is why if you took algebra 1 in middle school, you got to take calculus, full calculus in high school, which substituted for a college credit.
So, but you don't have to take.
But you
the
don't,
fourth year.
no, you don't have to take calculus. You still have to take 4 years.
Oh, see, I wouldn't have been able to graduate early. if I'd done that.
I got to graduate early because I didn't have to take. I took pre-cal in high school, but I didn't have to take the calculus class because I had done my algebra early.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, is algebra is part of the SAT test? Like, did you take SAT test?
I did not.
I
no.
did take the SAT.
Yeah. I would say algebra is going to be on any standardized test that you take for college.
Definitely.
It's the most fundamental of the math. Interest equations, quadratic equations, plotting things on a graph, all of those things. It's all algebra.
Balancing equations.
Balancing equations.
That's
yeah.
a big deal. So every high school student is required, like you heard Nova and I talking about variances in the classes that you can take, but the classes that everyone takes are algebra and geometry. And those don't change. Every single person who graduates from high school has to take algebra and geometry, so those definitely are on the SAT, and you're expected mastery of those.
Okay. So, have you taken any college algebra?
No, I have not.
I took college algebra forever ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I did. I took a college algebra class in community college.
Is that you will say it's more advanced from the high school, or is all the same?
It was very, very similar.
It was very similar. I would say that it was more of a refresher to make sure that you really solidly know all of the math you should have already learned in high school.
Yeah, and you can test out of it. Like, the way it worked when I did it was you took a test, and then depending on what grade you got on that test, decided what class you started with. And if you scored well enough, you would skip algebra and go straight into, calculus
That's
or trig.
I guess I went straight into
whatever it
calculus
is.
because I tested out of algebra and trigonometry. So my SAT scores basically qualified me to get college credit for algebra and trigonometry, and then I could go straight into calculus.
Interesting.
But that was at LSU, so not all universities are like that.
My university wasn't that way.
Yeah,
You
so
had to just take it.
some of them require you to do them. Some of them do have an entrance level exam where you take the test and they tell you what math you qualify for. Some universities will allow you to just straight test out of the class. They're like, here's the final exam for algebra. If you pass it, you'll get the credit. But
Okay, then you don't need to pay for it. You just directly have it.
right,
Right.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like in the high school, except algebra, what's the other and the geometry? What's the other required courses you have?
No, I
to
don't
take?
think anything else is required, but there are other maths that you can take. Like you can
Right.
take. I took pre-cal. You can take calculus. I only went to high school for 3 years, so I only took geometry, algebra 2, and pre-cal.
And except the mathematics, like physics, chemistry, biology, you have to take all.
You
of
have
You
to-
do, yeah. I had
yeah.
to take biology specifically, and
And
then chemistry for us. I don't remember if it was required, but I know we had an honors course.
I think
I
chemistry
mean,
is required.
in China, do you have something like honors, like higher level classes that are optional. So you have
No.
Like you
a
don't have
basic
different
version of a
versions
class
of
and then
classes.
a higher level version of a class for those who just want the challenge.
It's like an advanced
So you will
version.
take
So you can
kind
have
of computation?
you could no, you could either for most classes that are required, you'll have like if you have to take chemistry, you might have one chemistry class that's the regular version of the class, and you'll have an honors version of the class, which is an advanced class for the students who want to take that class and get credit for it, but want more of a challenge.
What's the benefit of taking honors?
The honors classes prepare you more for college, and they also prepare you for the exams that you can take to get college credit as a high school student.
You also get a GPA boost for taking an honors class versus a regular class.
Not at our school.
No, you guys didn't have honors classes?
No, we had honors classes, but they didn't calculate the GPA any differently.
I don't remember about that, yeah.
So we had the regulars, the honors, and then the AP, AB.
Right.
So I don't know
is
what
the
it stands for. It's like advanced placement, but that's the one that would prepare you the most for college. And at the end of that course, you got to take the test that basically would give you college credit. If you passed it, you got college credit. So at our school, when you took an honors class, it was a personal challenge for you. So you wanted to know more about the material, they gave you more information, but you didn't get any kind of benefit from it. So a lot of people didn't take honors classes. They either took AP or the regulars class.
As you can see, there's a lot of variation in
Yeah.
the public school system.
By the way, where you took your high school?
I went to Plano Senior High.
Plano, so it's not far
Yeah,
away.
no.
I did some of my high school in Frisco, and I did some of my high school in Tyler, which is a couple hours away.
Frisco used to be a really small city,
Yeah.
so it's not like it is now.
Okay.
I did mine in Saxe, which is not far away from here. It's close.
So basically it's very close, but
Yes.
very a
Every
lot.
school district has a lot of variability, but I mean, you can tell that there are a lot of similarities.
The
as well.
AP program, the advanced placement program, is very common in
Yeah.
most schools that I've ever
all of them.
encountered.
Yeah, all of them.
Will have the
pretty sure.
AP program.
And that is where you get to take a harder version of the class, and then there is a Texas standardized test that every AP class gives the same test. And if you pass the AP exam with a minimum score, then you get college credit for it. So you can come out of high school if you take many AP classes with
A
either
handful classes,
a whole semester off of your college.
So is that the same system like you register your class every before the semester start? Like now you doing in the university? Like when every year?
Yeah, when you register for
high school?
classes,
Yeah.
yep, it's
You
pretty
would.
much just the
Mhm.
same.
Same
Yeah,
thing?
Very
yeah.
similar. What we did is you just got like a piece of paper that had all the courses, and you just would go
Sign
through and
up.
select the ones that you wanted. You had to take, obviously, certain classes. You had to have a science or a math, but you could just pick whichever one you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Algebra. Algebra.